Welcome to the first panel in our Cyber Trends 2025 series. I'm Lisa Easterly, President and CEO of Cyber Center of Excellence, or CCOE, a San Diego-based nonprofit that mobilizes industry, academia, and government to grow our regional cyber economy and create a more secure digital community for all. Cybersecurity is absolutely everyone's business now. The FBI reports more than 150% increase in cybercrime complaints across all industries, and that has climbed to over 37 billion in losses over the last 5 years. And the global cost of a data breach has climbed over 4.88 million, according to IBM, and more than half of these costly attacks are aimed at small and medium-sized businesses, which are our region's economic engine. So now pair that with the global shortage of cyber professionals to thwart these attacks to the tune of about 450,000 openings in the United States and about 5,500 here in San Diego, and it really becomes mission critical to address this universal risk. The good news is that San Diego is leading the charge with more than 1,000 cyber firms and the Navy's Information Warfare Systems Command. This cluster accounts for more than 26,000 jobs and has a total economic impact of $4 billion annually, which is equal to hosting 24 Comic-Cons for all you fellow Marvel fans. This collaborative ecosystem is developing the new technologies, the defenses, and cyber warriors to combat the ever-evolving threat landscape. So let's tap into this robust expertise with our esteemed panel today to talk about the cyber trends that are shaping 2025. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome this panel. Lance, why don't we kick it off with an introduction from you?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thanks for having San Diego State University here. My name is Dr. Lance Larson. I'm the co-director of the graduate program in Homeland Security here at SDSU. I'm also a principal investigator for San Diego State University's portion of the San Diego Google Cybersecurity Clinic, funded by Google and Tide. So I'm looking forward to being able to talk a little bit about that today. And again, thanks for having us.
Wonderful. Always great to have you, my friend. And Captain Jonathan Patrick, we'll turn it to you next.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm Captain Jonathan Patrick. I'm currently with Marine Corps Installations West, G6 here in Camp Pendleton, California. I'm a limited duty officer. So I started out on the enlisted side. I've got about 20 years. And about 5 years ago, I decided to transition to become an officer. And our mission here is supporting the warfighters and their families and protecting our critical cyber terrain within the region.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And last but absolutely not least, Erin, we'll turn the mic to you.
Awesome. So happy to be here. Thank you for having us. I'm Erin Tanner, a client service specialist with Journeys Map, where I get to support employer groups and organizations develop strong talent pipelines through our career map in order to build a skilled workforce. Along with Journeys Map, I have been in career development and nonprofit for about 20 years.
Amazing. Well, we're very excited to jump right in with you. So I think the fun question is always, what cybersecurity threats are keeping you up at night? Lance, why don't we start with you? This is a tinfoil hat portion of the discussion.
Yeah, Lisa, this is a great question. Allows us to put our imagination today into what we're going to see potentially months or years from now. And so I like these questions. And as a good researcher, this is what we spend a lot of our time looking at. Is not necessarily what's here today, but what's going to be here tomorrow, and what do we need to prepare for with good safeguards and countermeasures that we can put in place now. So I think obviously any discussion without the mention of automation, especially through AI and machine learning and neural networks, which is interesting that AI is such a hot topic now, because we've been researching neural networks, machine learning, and how pathways are created without much human intervention for a long time. In fact, since about the 50s. So it's interesting that it came back around now. But I would say my fear with that is the ability to automate some of these cyber attacks through the use of technologies to make what has already been occurring faster, stronger, more directed, and much more autonomous. What do I mean? Well, for example, when you're going to get ready to launch a cyber attack, you need to find a good platform to launch it from. And so cyber threat actors will go out and they'll find machines that are vulnerable, and they'll try to exploit or take advantage of those vulnerabilities or weaknesses. Sometimes that's done manually. It takes a long time. You can't find a lot. Vulnerabilities will exist out in the open for years, potentially tens of years without being discovered. But with this automated, faster attack, I think we're going to see a lot more of those exploitations taken advantage of with zero human interaction. The other thing that kind of scares me and keeps me up at night, Lisa, is the ghost GPTs and the worm GPTs of the world. So these are plays on the chat GPTs of the world that have very little or no guardrails. And so not having guardrails means that we can researchers or cyber threat actors can get them to do things they weren't designed to do. For example, give them malware that they can create autonomously with zero human interaction. You can just give it the instructions of what you want that malware or bad software to do, and it will, because it has no guardrails, it has no conscious, it will go ahead and create those for you. So to me, those are the things that keep me up at night, and but also interest me, right, as a researcher, is how do we get ahead of those? Where do we spend money and time and talent to be able to get these technologies used in a good way too? And I think that's another great discussion, is how do we use automation and AI to better ourselves?
Great, thank you, Lance. Very insightful thoughts there. We'd love to have you to jump in as well, Captain Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lance brought up all the new technologies. Well, for myself, working on Marine Corps installations, unfortunately, I have to deal with a lot of old technology. Many of our installations are, decades old. They've been around for a while. We've got antiquated systems, especially when you look into, facilities-related control systems or ICS or SCADA. And so our job really right now is we're trying to modernize and look at reducing the threat surface of our installations and being able to patch those critical systems, but also to secure these systems while integrating new and modern technology to bring them into the 21st century, and to be able, that requires a lot of planning, a lot of effort, and a very methodical approach.
Absolutely. And I think that translates outside the fence as well, with some of the different industries that we have in San Diego that are very OT heavy, whether you're talking healthcare or agriculture or many others. So really great insights as well. And then Erin, love to get your thoughts about what's keeping you up at night.
Yeah, so a little different approach to this, just being from like the talent side or the development side of things. I recently read a statistic that said 14% of organizations are confident that they have the people or the skills required to meet their cybersecurity objectives. So I know earlier in the week you and I talked about how people are both people being at the core of cybersecurity is both the like, oh, oh goodness, as well as it being uplifting. The threats being that there's at once was, IT professionals heading cybersecurity. It's now everybody's responsibility, like you mentioned when we began this call. So, but that's where we see the uplifting part being that things like Journeys Map comes in, or collaborations like what we have here, get to create those resources for developing the people, as well as, empowering those small businesses, medium, large, all of that, to have the resources to go and find that talent and develop them. And we're off to a better foundation. And then we can only go up from there.
Absolutely. I always say people are your weakest link, but they're also your greatest defense. And so there's absolutely a lot of programs, resources here in our region, particularly to help folks that are interested in joining the fight. I know we'll talk about that a little bit further in our discussion. Well, we kind of get the tinfoil hat, but let's talk about what some of those new cybersecurity innovations and solutions that really excite you. So, Lance, why don't you kick us off again, and we'll talk about some of the latest and greatest.
Yeah, and Lisa, what a great pivot. We're starting to talk about people, and I think that's probably going to be the theme of the answer to this question from many of us in your panel. Here in San Diego, we have a really exciting new venture. It's the San Diego Cyber Clinic, and it's funded by Google and Tides. And I think what Google and Tides recognized is they recognized this skill gap and the inability to put the right people into cybersecurity, cyber threat intelligence, safeguarding positions. And so the neat part is the San Diego Cyber Clinic was funded and launched, and it's a collaboration between San Diego State University, the Cyber Center of Excellence, National University, and Cal State University San Marcos. And our main mission is to be able to, it's kind of in two-part, and this is what is really innovative. The first part is being able to work with underserved institutions, organizations, critical infrastructure, even government, to be able to help them assess their cybersecurity hygiene. What do I mean by cybersecurity hygiene? Well, most of us probably go to the dentist to get a teeth cleaning to be able to prevent cavities. That's really what we want to look at here is how do we get left of bang? How do we prevent the problem? We're constantly firefighting in cybersecurity. We're constantly trying to put water on the fire. And cybersecurity in itself, there's so many incidents that it really is like drinking water from a fire hose. So to prevent that, we got to get left of bang. And that's where these clinics that are popping up around the world now can be able to innovate. And so one side is serving those institutions, giving them a roadmap to get better compliance and hygiene. But the other side is that workforce development. So here at San Diego State, we're lucky to be part of the Google Cybersecurity Clinic in that we have a cohort of students that are not normally cybersecurity, non-traditional cybersecurity learners that are learning cybersecurity, getting a Google Cybersecurity certificate, even getting a discount on certification, taking things like their CompTIA Network Plus, and they're actually going out working with real clients through what you would almost call like an internship or work experience, and actually going to those underserved institutions and working with them. We also have another really exciting grant that we work here through NSITE, which is a DHS, Department of Homeland Security Center of Excellence, the National Counterterrorism Innovation, Technology, and Education Center for Workforce Development, doing this exact thing and getting more of these counterterrorism, counter cyber attack individuals ready to learn and out into the workforce, because we're not going to solve that problem that we've been talking about already of getting these organizations ready if we don't have the manpower in place.
Absolutely. And what a fun venture this is, just like a law clinic or a medical clinic. It's so exciting to see these students getting hands-on experience while really helping their communities and instilling this kind of core value of service and camaraderie. As we all know, cybersecurity is a full contact team sport. So Erin, I'd love to hear too some of the work that Journeys is doing, the cyber career map, and the different ways that you're helping, kind of on Lance's point, really driving the our talent pipeline and helping not only seed it, but opening that aperture.
Yeah, Lance kind of touched on this with we hear the numbers, 80,000 jobs in California alone, or 5,500 in our county of that gap. So what I'm most excited truly is about the collaboration, calls like this, partnerships like the one that Journeys Map and the CCOE has had for a long time, how our map lives on your website, available for people to go and create their own accounts and figure out their personalized pathways, either to learn more, to go into cybersecurity fields, in general, or so yeah, there is a connecting point in every single one of us on this call. Captain Patrick and I, we have a military or part for the military to go through on our map, and so we've worked with their transitioning team for the service members that are such skilled individuals with so much knowledge. Where does that connect? How do they see that the skills that they've gained in the military connect with civilian jobs as well as for their families? And then we worked with higher ed educational institutions all over the place. So it's really, like you said, cybersecurity is for all. Where do you fit in? What are you doing? But every business needs it, home needs it, individual needs to have this knowledge. And that's what I'm so excited about, is that collaborative nature that San Diego exudes constantly. And so it's really like, it's not if it exists, it's just, hey, we're here, find us. Yeah,
absolutely. And Jonathan, we'd love your thoughts as well. I know you get to be in the kind of cutting edge too on a lot of the innovative technology and solutions. So we'd love to hear what's exciting you.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say, thanks to CCOE for bringing us in the military into your guys' kind of world. And I did through Erin, we had great conversation and we introduced her to working with our transitioning military. And, hopefully we can take that even a step further so that we can, like she said, build that pipeline, right, for our transitioning military members who have the experience on our side and are looking to move into the general public or into the public sector. As for the cybersecurity innovations piece, historically, the Marine Corps and the military in general, we've always kind of kept to our own. And we always had the concept of, build the wall as strong as you can and everything inside is protected. And we see that in the new cybersecurity world and in the realm that we live in, that's not the case anymore. So we are moving towards zero trust architecture and having that mindset of, never trust, always verify, which is very different. And it's a new concept, and having to figure out how to implement that appropriately so that we can continuously verify identities and even devices on our networks to better secure. And then in addition to that, we look at other technologies that we're able to now start to work with. Mobile side, we're looking at 5G, LoRaWAN, things like mainnets, right? Those multi-access or mobile access nets. And then how we can also integrate. We talked about the downside of technology when it comes to AI, but there's also the upside where we can now use that for our advantage, whether it's through threat detection and looking at heuristics or behavioral analytics, and then using the machine learning process to identify, and then things such as SOAR or security orchestration, automation and response, and how we can get after streamlining the security processes, but also shortening the incident response and having a better posture overall.
Yeah, very helpful. And I think, one of the things too we like to look at is, and I think we're kind of all being a bit future focused, particularly on our first one of our cyber trends panels of the year. But what do you see on the horizon this year that all organizations should have on the radar? And I think, Erin, I'll pass this one to you to kick us off.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say skills matching or reverse skills. So truly understanding what you have, who you have in your talent pipeline, in your organization already, and understanding where there's points for entry level positions to be created, talent, the understanding the untapped talent like potential, and having a strategic workforce development plan to move people into higher positions or positions that are now needed with their skills. Our map then allowing you to see where the education you can get, educated or certified or whatever is needed there, and then creating those opportunities for, others to come into your organization. So that is what I think is mostly really exciting, as well as just like something that's innovative and where we're closing that gap and finding those solutions.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of upskilling on the employer side in general. There's a lot of folks coming out of school. We hear it continuously. They want hands-on experience. So having folks that are already on your team, that are in the IT department, that potentially have the skill sets to upskill into these cybersecurity roles through programs that like SDSU has and many of our other partners, and being able to utilize resources like the career map to say, I'm here, I want to get there, I think is really helpful for those in our region. Very helpful.
Yeah, exactly. I think with the touching on the SDSU point too, it's like knowing where to find who's coming out so that you can give those opportunities, and having that bridge of communication between employer and employee or student and employee. And everyone's like, do you know of a job, or do you know of an internship or these apprenticeship opportunities? And this is what is creative and it's available. So for sure.
Awesome. All right. We'll head over to you, Jonathan, for additional thoughts.
Yeah, just to kind of jump off of that too, I think it's important that within the industry and for industry leaders and business owners to think about, we used to put a lot of investment and time into engineers and network engineers, data engineers, the guys that would build the networks and systems. But as we're continuing into this new world of cybersecurity, I think you really have to start looking at cyber resiliency over the cybersecurity. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? And so now looking at personnel and finding new skill sets, people who can help you with recovery and adaptation and being able to come back from a cyber attack is just as important. And that's where the cyber workforce really comes in, and building relationships like we have here and in those pipelines. And then in addition to that, the other thing that I would say is specifically on the defense side, what I have recently been starting to come into, especially being involved with CCOE, is looking at the cybersecurity requirements if you're working in the defense sector. The cybersecurity maturity model certification process, it's not easy. And if you work in the defense sector and you do support the military, it's one of those compliancy requirements that we have. And so, especially here in San Diego, with as much military as we have and the integration and relationships that we have, that's a really big thing in our area.
Absolutely. We have the largest concentration of military assets in the United States. And I know CMMC is one of those things that I think can be rather daunting. But again, there are a lot of resources in our region. And it's also something, too, where it's helpful for non-DoD related organizations, because truly this is kind of a scorecard and gives you an idea of where you need to be from a cyber hygiene perspective, as Lance had mentioned. And we start to see things like this in cyber insurance and other aspects that really are applicable to all businesses. So great point. We appreciate that one. And I think Lance, we'll have you give us your thoughts on what all organizations should have on the radar.
Yeah, Lisa, and I think this question reminds me a little bit of the assignment I give to my students often in cyber warfare class, and that is define cyber for me. And if I have 30 students, I'll get 30 different definitions of what cyber is to that student. And
I love that. I think I'm going to use that in general to start all meetings.
That's probably a good idea. And the one definition that I have yet to disprove that pretty much fits every circumstance is cyber is a platform. And as simple as that definition is, it really allows us to have discussions like today, where we're talking about cyber as a platform plus people, cyber as a platform plus cyber hygiene. And I think the other two pieces that are very, very important looking out on the radar and the horizon in the future is compliance and intelligence. And so Captain Patrick hit a little bit on CMMC, or the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, but also you have NIST, the National Institute of Science and Technology, with their cybersecurity framework up to version 3.0. And using that list of cybersecurity controls to check against your own. So that compliance, I think, is going to continue to be really important, especially as organizations push out their cybersecurity risk models to vendors and to those they interact with. And if you're not compliant, why should we do business with you? You're increasing our cost of business because you're increasing our risk, and thus increasing the amount of safeguards and countermeasures we have to put in place to defend against an incident that you might experience. I think with that, you're also potentially seeing a reduction in research funding that will be potentially detrimental to cybersecurity efforts, especially that future-looking cybersecurity and automation, and artificial intelligence frameworks. And also potentially a reduction in government workforce. And for some of these organizations that on different cybersecurity studies score highest to C- in some of these agencies on their cybersecurity preparedness and resiliency, what's that going to do for that scoring system? Is it going to increase our risk having less people that are doing that cybersecurity planning and risk management? And then finally, as I think we're seeing a growth in maturity, which is positive, and that is incorporating intelligence. And so I always like to give a definition of what I see intelligence. It's information plus purpose given to a decision maker to make a decision. And if we incorporate that into cybersecurity and get left of bang by being able to look at that relevant cyber threat intelligence and be able to figure out how we use it to build the fence, like Captain Patrick said, where do we bolster the fence? Where do we put the artillery? Where do we put the extra resources we have? Because we're going to be able to see or calculate where that cyber risk is coming from.
I love that. Left of click is one of my all-time favorites that come from our Cape Crusaders, our buddies over at the FBI. I think it's very important for folks to really think about this. It's as Captain Patrick said, it's not a matter of if, it's when at this point. And so really kind of thinking through where your vulnerabilities are and then where your strengths lie, I think is really critical for all our organizations. Well, I know today we've talked a lot about people. It always comes back to people, people, people. So for those that we've inspired through this discussion, what career advice do you have for individuals interested in joining the fight? I think, Erin, we'll come back to you because you're in the trenches on this every day.
Sure. I think if anything, it would be empower you to have authorship of your career. That it's not so much the how, it's the who. There are so many resources available to you, finding the right person that can just connect the dots, and also doing that same thing for yourself. like keep going. They keep building the blocks, finding those bricks that build you to where it is, what it isn't, and just as much as what it is. So, continuing to ask a more beautiful question to yourself, finding those connections, getting involved in, opportunities that like CCOE offers to network. There's so many answers that are available to you, but go find them. But be the driver and not the co-pilot of your career. We're all here, to support you.
Fantastic. And I know there's so many resources here, from certification programs to, community college programs now, as well as the 4-year degrees, master's programs, affiliated programs, video games that trade. We really, as a region, have a great repertoire. So Lance, we'll head over to you as our resident academic for today to, provide some additional thoughts.
Yeah, I think the cybersecurity industry is one of the most difficult for new career participants to penetrate, and the reason is that you really can't enter without experience, and you can't get experience by already having a cybersecurity job. And the cycle repeats itself, where no experience, no job, no job, no experience. And I think that's why you see a lot of the salaries very high in cybersecurity, because it scares a lot of people that don't have experience to enter, because they think they're not going to understand it, or they're not going to look smart. And so I think we need to dispel that myth, and be able to help people understand that they do have an opportunity to get experience, especially in academics and also in the military. We also educate in our Homeland Security program here at SDSU a lot of first responders that then pivot to things like cybersecurity, already having that incident response type of mentality that we need to get on an issue before it snowballs and gets bigger and turns into the cybersecurity avalanche. And if you are able to get that experience, then you can get your certifications, you can get training, and then you don't have to go up and show up to your first interview with the cybersecurity dream job with nothing to be able to bring them, right? And so things like the cybersecurity clinic, and being able to be forced into working with these organizations in the community that are in dire need of cybersecurity preparedness services. By doing that, you actually have something to put on your resume. I did a cybersecurity vulnerability assessment. I used compliance technology to evaluate this organization and help them build out their cybersecurity maturity. Those are the kind of things that almost weaponize you in a positive way when you go into that interview, to be able to take that first job, get that dream job potentially right off the bat.
Love it. Alrighty, over to you, Jonathan. Final thoughts on those that are looking for a career in this field.
Yeah, I guess I would just say, get started. Like that's really the basics of it. I'm currently working through my master's degree in cybersecurity technologies, and I've met so many people along the way in my classes who have switched career fields because this is kind of the wave of the future, and people are so interested in it. And so getting started and just focusing on the fundamentals, right? Learning the basics of networking and operating systems, and even security principles. That's the basis. That's the essential foundation that you have to work in this world. And I always tell my Marines that, I was like, take every opportunity you can. And if the only opportunities you take are within your daily work schedule, then you're not going to get as far as you can. And what I mean by that is, it's going to take effort. You're going to have to work outside in your own personal time to study and to continue to learn and all that. And then, like Lance was saying, hands-on experience is great. And there are things out there that, labs or capture the flag competitions, or even unpaid internships and real world exposure, that those things all help you grow in the field. And for anyone in the military who might be listening, all I can say and stress is, take advantage of the opportunities that we have. If you're not using programs like DoD Cool that, pay for your certifications and cost you absolutely nothing and will extend your career, then you're missing out on a great opportunity. And those opportunities aren't even just for cyber Marines or cyber military personnel. They're open to a lot more than that. So go talk to a career counselor, go to your education center, and they'll help you through it.
Oh, fabulous advice. Yes, we need as many folks as we can get. And truly, one of the things I always like to say is, It's not all just those in the hacker hoodies at the computers. There are so many opportunities. Cybersecurity is not one job. There's so many opportunities. And for those that, wanted to get into medicine and can't do blood, there's great opportunities to support in their cybersecurity teams at hospitals and the life sciences industry here. So find where your strengths are, and there are absolutely a role for you in this career field. So I know this has been such a fabulous discussion. If I wasn't already in the field, I'd be jumping to it. So I think we could kind of wrap up this discussion with really, parting thoughts for our audience to help them navigate this ever-evolving cybersecurity threat landscape, and also tap into all of the community resources that we have to offer. So I think we'll go back over to Erin to kick us off.
Sure. Well, just thank you. This has been an incredible conversation, a wonderful opportunity for us to share, what is available to our community members. You said something that made me think of how you personally, in a holistic way, something that I appreciate about Journeys Map is the assessments that you get to do, personality assessments, skills and interests. And so you get to see where you connect to positions like this that you would have never thought, and then see those personalized career pathways. And so, there really is a place for everybody. And so looking at that yourself as a holistically, where do I fit in? Fantastic. And so, thank you. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Oh, it's fabulous. And then Captain Patrick, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, first, Lisa, thank you for the opportunity today. Erin, Lance, it's been a privilege. Enjoyed it most definitely. And I guess my parting thoughts would be cybersecurity in the world we live in, it's mission critical, right? Whether you're in the military, the public, private sector, we're this pivotal role now in safeguarding essential life-sustaining systems and infrastructure. And if you're looking for job security, this is a great field for it, because we're not going anywhere. And then second to that, I would say, when you're in a job like this, even after 20 years, I learn something new every day. And I like to consider myself a lifelong learner. I'm never afraid to study, never afraid to learn something new, because that's the only way you're going to adapt and stay ahead, right? The cyber threat, it's constantly evolving, more AI, more ML, more attack threats and vectors. And we have to stay on top of that, and we have to learn how to adapt. And that leads me to my last point of staying engaged. I never dreamed that I would have the opportunity to be a member of CCOE and have such a wonderful organization to help share knowledge, keep me informed. It's gotten me plugged in to the surroundings. I've been so in my military bubble for so long. To work with the industry professionals, it's an amazing gift. And the collaboration and the wealth of knowledge that you guys bring and allow me to tap into is very much appreciated. So thank you.
Oh, it is our pleasure. We are delighted to have you as part of our CCOE board. And I think, Lance, we'll have you take us home today.
Absolutely. And thanks again for inviting SDSU to the conversation, to Erin and Captain Patrick for their contributions. So I think, one of the most interesting things in San Diego, if you remember way back in the day, our local economic development corporation had a real big campaign about San Diego being the most internet connected area in the United States. And they even had a slogan for it, and talked about how many miles of fiber optic lines we had below our streets. And I remember that campaign, and to bring business and prosperity. There's no better place in the United States, and maybe not the world, to continue that tradition and be able to make sure to focus on our digital connected life, but especially those threats that come up on a daily basis to that digitally connected life. And that maybe is our core competency here in San Diego. So I would recommend to those that are interested in this or are already in the cybersecurity community to keep up and keep connected to organizations. We're lucky because of that interconnectivity here in San Diego to have a ton of different groups that you can belong to. ISC Squared has a chapter, B-Sides, CCOE, ISACA, AITP. You have the pick of the litter between these great minds, engineers, scientists, cybersecurity experts. You got to immerse yourself in the field. And if you don't immerse yourself, you're going to lose that lifelong learning, like Captain Patrick says. And then also internships. We have a lot of ability to have internships in cybersecurity, in just information technology, in management information systems. and in Homeland Security, like my students have to do. They're forced through curriculum to do an internship and to get out there in the community and help out. And it's just so amazing to see a transition when you get actually into the workforce. Even if it's not a paid job, it's an unpaid internship, it gets your feet wet and gives you that story to be able to give in the interview. So keep connected, and don't forget about education as a vital important to keeping us on the cutting edge.
Oh, fabulous parting thoughts. And I think my only addition would be in the brilliant words of Snoop Dogg, the 6 Ps: proper planning and preparation prevent poor performance. And that is absolutely the case in cybersecurity. And so with that, many thanks to Lance, Jonathan, Erin for this insightful discussion. We invite businesses and job seekers to visit CCOE's website at sdccoe.org for more information and lots of free resources, including the San Diego Cyber Clinic, the Cyber Career Map we mentioned, and the San Diego Cyber Labs My eCISO AI tool as well. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for the San Diego Business Journal's next cybersecurity trends panel in May. Thanks, everybody.